Hello everyone, welcome back to the Geek Speak Geek podcast. We are your hosts, Movie Master Mike.
And Tabletop Tim.
We are back and better than ever to talk about movies and board games. And this week we don't have a whole lot of news to talk about, but we did play 2 board games since we missed last week. We actually did get together for a board game before that, so we've played 2 board games in the last 2 weeks. So let's get into it. Let's get started with the movie news. Just 3 things I want to talk about. The Maze Runner star, who she was only in the second one so far, Rosa Salazar, lands the lead role in Robert Rodriguez and James Cameron's film Alita: Battle Angel.
Is that the anime property?
So yeah, that was an anime. I've never seen it. I've never really heard of it. The cover art looks phenomenal, though. Yeah, you probably haven't seen the Maze Runner movies, have you?
No.
No. I've watched them both, not in theaters. She was good in it. I liked her in the second one. She was in the Scorch Trials. So I never heard of the anime, so I don't know what it's like. But people love anime, and these are 2 like powerhouse directors.
Yeah, I never read anything about it really. I think I might have read 1 or 2 issues from the manga, but that was years ago. But yeah, I've seen a lot of the art because just that was my zeitgeist. Back in the day.
Right.
It was really intriguing, so that should be cool. And who's doing it? James Cameron?
James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez.
Wow. Cameron must be producing, right?
Yeah, probably.
Can't imagine he'd direct something like that.
No, he's too
got his own shit to work
Yeah, he's too focused on Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably going to be Rodriguez directing, which is probably better for an anime than James Cameron, I would think.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I always look forward to seeing what Robert Rodriguez is doing.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Machete movies? Machete?
No, I've never seen Machete.
Oh man, you got to get on some Machete.
Yeah.
That stuff is amazing.
Yeah, maybe we'll watch some of those because I know at least one of them's on Netflix.
I think so.
Yeah, so yeah, we can probably get those into our podcast.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so it hasn't been greenlit yet, but it probably will because why wouldn't it with those 2 guys backing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rosa Salazar in the lead role, so that's pretty good. Our next one to talk about was the Ghost in the Shell movie, which I think we talked about on our podcast, but I think I might have cut it out.
Oh, okay.
Because we were just running way too long. I was like, we gotta cut something. But the Ghost in the Shell movie is happening. It's got Scarlett Johansson as the main character. I think I was talking about how I think she's just kind of a par actor. She's not anything special, but she should do good as like a robot girl.
Yeah, she's so fucking hot.
Yeah. But the movie lands Rila Fukushima from The Wolverine.
Right.
She was the girl that recruited Wolverine from Canada.
Right.
And brought him to Japan. She was like she could see the future when somebody was going to die, and she was an awesome ninja in the movie. She was awesome in that movie. I liked her a lot. And you said you didn't finish the movie, but
yeah, I got a good nap out of that
movie. In the movie, Wolverine kind of falls in love with the other girl, the granddaughter of like the main guy,
right?
Who Wolverine saved in World War II. But he should have had a relationship with her. Like they had way more chemistry. Like they had more in common. They were both fighters and and awesome. And so she was great in the movie. So I wish she would have been a bigger part. I mean, she got a cool fight at the end and stuff. But yeah, she's going to be in the Ghost in the Shell.
Do we know who's directing that? Should be Nicholas Winding Refn. I think that's who should be directing it.
It is directed by Rupert Sanders.
Fuck, I don't even know who that is.
And Rupert Sanders directed Snow White and the Huntsman,
okay.
How to Destroy Angels, The Space in Between, and he's going to be doing Ghost in the Shell.
Okay. I liked the action stuff in Snow White and the Huntsman.
Right, yeah.
I don't remember much about the story, but the
visuals.
The visual style was really impressive.
It was cool. I liked it a lot.
I can see that. I can see that transferred into a Ghost in the Shell. I really like that film.
Right. I haven't seen it in a long, long time.
I actually just went back and saw it recently.
Nice.
And I'm still pretty impressed by it. It's got a real kind of surreal quality. It's a real kind of introspective, kind of thinky piece. There's only like 2 or 3 big action scenes, and most of it's just philosophy and existential, Yeah,
that's what I remember from the
talk.
movie. There's a lot of talk and stuff, but
now that I'm a little older, I listen to what they're talking about. It's pretty good, actually. And some of the concepts are really interesting because they work for this, this huge corporation. They have bionic augmentations.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, these companies own these people. Like if they ever wanted to get out, they'd have to give all their upgrades back and basically just die. And
oh wow!
So it's kind of a catch-22,
Yep. Yeah, I vaguely remember what that movie was even about. It's been so long.
Yeah, check it out again. I think.
I'd most definitely like it now because I enjoyed it back then. For the action and stuff. So I'm sure I would like the entire thing now if I were to go back and watch it, which I want to because it's like a staple in anime.
Yeah, it is, and I hope they kind of stick with that introspective kind of existential conflict.
Yeah.
Instead of just making it a balls out action film.
Right. All right. Well, the next and last bit of news that I want to talk about, Daniel Craig has officially said no more Bond for me. So now they're in the hunt for another Bond, and word on the street is Tom Hiddleston is who they're eyeing for James Bond.
Ah, the trickster god.
Yes. So the guy who plays Loki, who he made everybody love Loki. He's the only reason people liked the Thor movies. Well, I like the first one a lot.
I don't like I love the second one.
Okay, see, I like the first one. I just think it's a fun little fish out of water movie. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, let's take a breath before we start making broad, sweeping generalizations like that.
All right. Well,
I mean,
everybody loves
we can
Loki.
make those, but when you're in the room with someone, you're wrong about them.
Well.
I'm just fucking with you.
But Tom Hiddleston, he's the one that made everybody fall in love with Loki. And
yeah.
He was a big part of why the Avengers was so big, because everyone knew Loki was in it, and everyone loved Loki and things. So, I've not seen everything he's been in. I've only seen him in the Marvel movies. And one other thing, I saw Guillermo del Toro's
Crimson Peak.
And it was... I wrote a little review on it. It was okay. It wasn't a bad movie. It was good. The visuals were really good. But the ghosts could have been taken out of it completely, and it would have made no difference to the movie.
That's true.
Because the ghosts were literally only in like 3 or 4 scenes.
I think we needed more of those ghosts.
Yeah, we needed more
of
of them.
Those ghosts were scary as hell.
They
Those
were.
are the scariest ghosts I've ever seen on celluloid, man.
Yeah, we needed more, but because we got so little, and they didn't really do anything, they could have been taken out. It would have made no difference. It would have just been like a thriller of this crazy brother and sister that killed people,
And I think they should have just worked the story a little better, maybe made a little more about the poltergeist instead of the murdering brother and sister.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. And
yeah, I still liked it. I went and saw it in theaters. My girlfriend and I were just looking for something to see at the dinner and a movie theater that we have out here. So you can relax in a reclining chair and drink beer and eat burgers and stuff. So,
right.
So we were looking for something. I was like, well, Crimson Peak, she kind of likes horror movies and stuff. And it's Guillermo del Toro and Tom Hiddleston. So I mean, it was all right. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston was good in it. And he should make a really good James Bond.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've seen him in besides the Marvel movies. I mean, he's been in quite a bit of stuff, but besides Crimson Peak, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else.
Yeah, me neither. He's a little blonde, but he's an excellent actor. He's British. You can train anybody to be physical and stuff. Apparently, he auditioned for Thor. There's some footage out there of him with his shirt off, with a hammer, wheeling up to the skies, and he's not ripped. He's never going to be as big as Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
But he was pretty bulky for Tom Hiddleston, I guess. But not an ounce of fat on him and stuff. But in an interview on Jay Leno or whatever, they were saying how did you get bigger like that? He's like, well, I did less running and lifted more heavy things. So, but yeah, he did audition for Thor. He wanted to be the God of Thunder, but they liked him so much. But they're like, well, you don't really have quite the stature that we were looking for. Chris Hemsworth is much taller, so they went with Chris Hemsworth. I'm
so glad they made that decision because he's a great Loki.
He's fantastic. He's one of the best things about the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe. Is Loki is just so cool. But he should be a good James Bond. I like him, and like I was saying with the physicality thing, they can train him on guns and how to There's an action scene where he's got to slide and shoot and stuff like that. So I mean, there's no reason he couldn't do it. And he's young enough. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Idris Elba." It's he's already in his mid 40s. By the time that you get the ball rolling, he'll be towards his late 40s. Then it's the first movie, and then it's just going to be in his 50s, and nobody wants to see an old man James Bond. And that's what happened with Roger Moore. He just got old.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom Hiddleston has the right age and look, and he's British, and he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah. I look forward to his take on that.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it happens, because it's really just them.
Let's hope they're good movies.
Well, that too, but I mean, he hasn't been officially cast yet. It's just who they're eyeballing. Oh. That's all I had to say with movie news. There are other things happening. X-Men came out. We're going to see it this coming week. We'll talk about it next week. But let's get into talk about some movies. We tried to set up a movie to watch, but you picking up that second job and stuff, so it was hard for you to watch it. You said you watched 20 minutes of it. And
I got through 20 minutes of it while I was getting ready for work. Right. So in between jobs, I was trying to get this movie down, and unfortunately I didn't get through. I didn't try early enough to get into it. And,
eventually, I would like to talk about this movie, because we set out, because last time we talked about, like, let's watch a bad movie, because instead of just talking about these good movies that we like so much, let's watch a bad one, make fun of it, and have some fun. And so I was looking for something to watch that we could both access, like from Netflix. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this one is probably pretty bad. And it was Goosebumps, the recent movie with Jack Black.
Right.
And I watched it, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, but we won't get into it too much. And you said you enjoyed the 20 minutes that you saw.
I enjoyed the 20 minutes that I saw. Yeah. With the exception of this. The score was driving me fucking crazy. It was so overwhelming.
Yeah. I think that in the very beginning, like when you see the car just driving through the road, I thought the score was really cool. But then, the rest of it was just kind of.
But then it keeps going when people are talking and they're trying to build plot. You still got that fucking score just imposing itself on everything.
Yeah, that's Danny Elfman.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he does that. He tends to do that. Just kind of But the 20 minutes wasn't so bad that you watched, and I like the whole movie.
I thought the cops were funny.
Yeah, the cops.
Was hilarious.
The whole movie is actually pretty good. And if you watched or read the Goosebumps books back in like the 90s and stuff, I read a few of them, so I kind of knew what was going to happen.
Right.
With some of the characters and stuff, but let's get into the whole movie another time. We're going to talk about Godzilla 2014 today.
The American version?
Yes, the American version, because you've gone on record a few times saying that you hate that movie, and I love Godzilla in general, and I didn't think the movie was as bad as you. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to. I was there opening day, but yeah, it's you didn't see Godzilla nearly enough. You saw the Mutos too much.
Is that what you call them, the Mutos?
That's what they were called in the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
You saw them too much in comparison to Godzilla.
Absolutely.
And the human characters were all really bad. Every single one of them. I like some of the ideas that they play in that movie, like that there are these ancient giant monsters that feed on radiation, and when the Earth got less and less radiated, they had to go deeper and deeper to stick with the radiation. Anytime one of them comes back, Godzilla is like the hunter. So all these, he tries to keep them in check. So he kind of like protects the planet from these other Mutos, even though he is a Muto himself, basically.
Is that really the plot?
That was the plot, yeah. Godzilla, when Mutos came about, he kind of gets alerted somehow. He's like, oh, gotta go kill some Mutos. And he wakes up and goes and kills them, then goes back to sleep and deep underwater to get his radiation fill. Because he's a Muto too. He needs radiation as well. But yeah, that was the plot. And let them fight.
Ken Watanabe?
Ken Watanabe's character and the woman that he was with, they were like kind of experts in the Mutos. Like in the beginning, they were in that giant skeleton, and they saw like that broken egg, and they kind of saw the path to Japan.
Right.
And they were thinking like, is this him? Because they kind of know about Godzilla from the 50s, that they were showing that footage of us testing nukes in the South Pacific. Really, that was trying to, let's get rid of Godzilla, like, and just kind of covering it up with nuke testing, even though we're just trying to nuke him, to death. It's just kind of put him back under. And he eats radiation, so that kind of helped him. But that we find out. But yeah, the movie, like his character, Ken Watanabe's, he's like, the Mutos come out and then Godzilla comes. He's like, oh, he's just going to take care of him. That's what he does. Like, just let him fight. He keeps saying in the movie, like, let him fight. Let him just do what they do. Like, we can't stop him. Our nukes can't do anything. Like, our guns aren't going to do anything. Like, let him fight. and let's just get out of the way. And the military's like, what? No, we can't just let them fight and destroy cities and stuff. And
Ken Watanabe was completely wasted in this movie.
Absolutely.
He spent a lot of time looking at people talking, just like looking worried. Oh, here's another scene. I got to look worried.
Yes.
Because, the implication is he kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's reading on his face, but that doesn't make for a very interesting character.
No. If they would have gotten rid of Johnson, what's the actor's name?
Ford Brody.
Yeah, what's
Aaron
the actor?
Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. If they would have gotten rid of Aaron Taylor Johnson's character completely, Ken Watanabe would have been more relevant, and it would have been better. Like, to have the guy that kind of knows what's going on and trying to alert people, like, no, like, this is how it is. Like, and like, if he was more frantic, like Bryan
Cranston
was in the beginning, how he's like, I know what's going on, and like he's crazy and acting up a storm and stuff. If Ken Watanabe was a combination of those two characters combined,
right,
and we followed that character through the movie, it would have been much better.
So many actors were wasted on this movie.
Oh, Bryan Cranston. In the previews, they made it look like he was going to be the main character, and was that character that I'm talking about. He knows what's going on. He wants to tell people and alert people and figure things out and try to save the day. And spoilers, obviously. Then he dies in the 20 minutes.
Yeah. They made the previews seem like it was a Bryan Cranston fucking movie.
Yeah, and he dies.
I had no idea Aaron Taylor Johnson was in the fucking film.
Yeah.
And it turns into his movie.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. And I liked him in Kick-Ass. I haven't seen Kick-Ass 2 yet. I haven't watched Nowhere Boy, which is about young John Lennon starting up the Beatles, which I'm a huge Beatles fan.
Right.
I just haven't gotten around to watching because I haven't been in Beatles mode yet. And I am not prepared to launch myself into Beatles mode just yet because it'll take over my life for a while. But it's supposed to be really good.
I'm the same way with meth. It just takes over everything.
Yeah,
I get it.
It'll tend to do that. Yeah. And I haven't seen, or I did see Age of Ultron, and I actually liked him in that. I thought he was kind of funny.
Because he didn't have to do a lot of acting.
Yeah, but when he
did
and
save people,
yeah, but I thought he was good at it. I thought he looked good. He seemed like he was having a good time on set. In this movie, he just looked. He hated it. He didn't want to be there. He knew his character was stupid, that the script was stupid, but he was doing it anyway. He just didn't look like he was enjoying himself.
He was a mannequin made flesh.
Yes.
That's what he was.
Yes.
He was just something for the camera to look at. He was ridiculous. I want to talk about his character arc real quick.
Okay.
So, he has to go... Okay, so the monsters appear. He's like, I gotta go save my family. So he goes and he finds his family in this. Oh, good. My family's safe. I gotta go fight the monsters. Yeah. So he spends half the movie traveling to his family.
Yep.
He spends the other half traveling to the monster on a train, right?
Yes.
It's a road movie about this fucking soldier finding his family and then finding a monster.
Yeah, but the thing is, he goes to Japan to get his dad, because his dad, they grew up in Japan because he was working at a nuclear plant in Japan, and it melted with his mother inside, or it had a meltdown. It didn't melt; it had a meltdown, and so he was just a little kid, but his dad goes back there because he's like, I know it's a cover up, and he's like, I know the truth and all this stuff. So they go there. It's it's quarantined, but they take their masks off. Because he's like, all right, Dad, I'll what's the word I'm looking for? Not appease you. I'll humor you.
I'll placate you.
Yeah, I'll humor you. We'll go to the the nuclear zone. Just to shut you up, when we can go home. I've got a family and stuff, and he's in the military now, the kid. But they take their mask off. It's not radioactive anymore. And then they get arrested, and Bryan Cranston's going crazy because he knows it's a cover up and all this stuff. And then a Muto comes out of nowhere, out of the ground. And he dies.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Bryan Cranston dies, and then the Muto is on its way to Las Vegas, because that's where his mate is. In America, we have the other egg. There was one egg in Japan, and one egg in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And so the male hatched in Japan, and it's going to mate. So it's going... And so now Aaron Taylor Johnson just wants to go home. He's like, wow, it's on a path to Las Vegas. It's probably going to hit San Francisco, where my family lives.
Right.
Let me hitch a ride, army. Like, he's hitching a ride. He gets to Hawaii. He's like, all right, I'm halfway there. And then Godzilla and the Muto have an awesome battle that we don't get to see. And he saves somebody else's family in Hawaii. And then he hitches another ride saying, like, hey, I know how to defuse bombs, even though I'm not in the Navy. I'll go with you, Navy, even though I'm in the Army, not the Navy. So they recruit him, like, oh, you can defuse bombs? We need you to defuse this nuclear bomb so we can, something. It was stupid. Yeah. But he's just, like, hitching rides with people to get to America. He can't just, like, go there on his own to his family. He has to make all these pit stops and stuff. But he spends a lot of the time, like, in Hawaii. He saves somebody else's family, that Hawaiian kid or whatever.
You know what I just realized? He was in Avengers with Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
I did not make that connection until right now.
Oh yeah, no. When Godzilla was coming out, and it was Elizabeth Olsen and him, and they were husband and wife.
She plays his wife in that film.
Yeah, and so everyone was like, "Oh man, next year they're gonna be brother and sister." Like, and then right now they're kissing. It's kind of gross,
Or sexy.
Yeah. Well, we know in the comic books that they kind of had an incestuous relationship, which is really weird.
Or sexy.
Yeah.
But I thought Elizabeth Olsen was...
Yeah, she was great in the movie.
She was the best part of the film, to me.
Once they took Bryan Cranston out, she was the only enjoyable part besides Godzilla.
She was the only one acting.
Yeah. I mean, besides Godzilla. And Godzilla was only in it for like 5 minutes at the end. Yeah. We saw his foot in Hawaii, and then his family, at home in San Francisco, was watching TV, and his kid is like watching the Godzilla fight, and she's like, "Turn that off." So you only get to see like 2 seconds of the Godzilla fight from a news footage.
And that's one thing they kept doing, is just giving you little peeks.
Yeah.
Like there was a scene where, I think it was the Let Them Fight scene, and they're watching the monsters come at each other, and then these like Bombay doors shut in the ship.
Oh yeah.
So here comes the monsters.
Nope.
They tie up. And then we close off the scene. Yep. I was so infuriated because that was like an hour and a half into the film. Like,
yeah. It was. I know the idea of like just tease the monster like Jaws, like don't show it till the end. Even the Incredible Hulk back in '08, you only get to see its hand, or it's like it brushes by in the shadows and stuff. You don't get to see it right away. So the big reveal is a little bit into the movie. I understand that. But they waited way too long.
All the way till the fucking end.
Yeah, they should have revealed him in Hawaii. Instead of just the foot, they should have done the foot, and then like a pan, scoping up to see him, like, and then maybe not show that whole fight, but just show him, before he gets to San Francisco.
Right.
So the whole movie is just like the Army or the Navy just watching him, like, swim to San Francisco. Yeah. And then the last battle was pretty badass.
I agree.
When they were actually fighting, that was badass. When he starts breathing his atomic breath, that was so cool.
But not worth the wait. Not
for
me.
No, I don't think so.
It was not worth all the infuriation that I felt trying to get to that point.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating.
Yeah,
it was doubly frustrating because I was so excited to see that film. Right?
Oh, me too.
I thought we were going to really do... Because what was that, 2014?
Yeah, it was 60 years after the first one.
Yeah, so we were doing some really good shit with film. Like, 2014 was an amazing year.
Yeah.
And so I thought, Godzilla was going to be another great movie, and it just fucking wasn't, man.
No, it wasn't. I was super excited. There were a few movies we went and saw in theaters. We saw Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that was Winter Soldier, yeah.
Yeah, that was back in April of that year. Like I said, she likes some of the, like all the the teen movies, like the Maze Runner and all that stuff. So we went and saw. No, we didn't see Maze Runner. We saw the Divergent that came out that year.
Right.
We saw Divergent. We saw Godzilla. We saw Days of Future Past. And we saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That's right.
I think that's what we saw. Like Captain America was kind of pre-summer, and Divergent was like April or something. But so from that to Spider-Man, I think was the last one we saw. Quite a few movies in theaters, and that one I was more excited for than any other ones was Godzilla.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck Spider-Man, fuck Captain America. I was like, I want to see Godzilla. I was raised on King Kong versus Godzilla. I love that movie, the American version, because I know there's all kinds of different cuts and stuff, but I love it. I love Godzilla. I posted a thing on Facebook, like all the different roars from 1954 to Godzilla 2000 that came out
nice.
in like 2000, like all the different roars, you know. And I think King Kong vs. Godzilla was the best roar. In 1963, it was the third Godzilla film. There was 54, 55, and then 63 was the next one. That was the best roar. How did you feel about the roar in 2014?
Gosh, I don't even remember it.
A lot of people are like, "Oh, they got it just right." I was like, "What? No, they didn't."
No,
it was way
As
too
a
like.
connoisseur, you don't think?
Yeah, it was like way too like grumbly,
and
it kind of ended on that high squeak that it does,
right?
but not nearly enough. Like they tried to make it too like, "Well, he's so big, let's make it a bigger, louder, deeper roar." It's like, no, make it a fucking Godzilla roar. Don't fuck with it. You know?
I love Godzilla also from my childhood. Man.
Yeah,
I used to watch the monster movie on Saturday.
Yeah.
The one I saw was with Grandpa Munster. He was the host of that particular series.
Oh, okay.
The Saturday movie monster special, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and they did a whole string of all those Godzilla movies. All the Rodan, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Mothra and all that shit.
Yep.
So yeah. Just tapping into that nostalgia. I was very excited to see this film.
Yeah, I know, like, right after I saw Godzilla, I was at a friend's house, I was at the Boston Boys' house, and they were watching Godzilla versus the Destroyer, which was made in, like, 93 or 4 or something like that. And I'd never seen it before. I thought, like, they stopped in, the 80s, and then there was this huge hiatus, and then the Americans did the 98 Godzilla, which was terrible. But there was this one in, like, the early 90s, and it was pretty badass. It was about like Godzilla was going so radioactive that he was going to die. Like it was like you could see it through his skin and stuff.
I remember that.
And they made these there was these little monsters that became radiated and became giant, and he had to like sacrifice himself. Then there was like a Godzilla's baby was older. It was really awesome. I liked it a lot. But I remember watching that because I was like, I've never seen this one, and like it was really cool. It looked really cool. The effects were cool for a guy in a suit and stuff. Looked super cool. And then I remember telling the Boston Boy and his family, because they were like, "Oh, new Godzilla." I was like, "Well, he's only there for like 5 minutes. Don't get too excited," But yeah, this movie was so disappointing because I love Godzilla so much. I'm not a huge connoisseur. Like, I haven't seen all the movies. I don't think. I know I watched a ton when I was a kid, but I probably haven't seen all of them.
I haven't seen close to all of them.
Yeah, and I remember like when I was a kid, like I didn't understand what the hell was happening. I just know Godzilla, and monsters fighting and stuff. But I like him so much, and the 98 one was such a disappointment, so I was hoping that this one would be good, and it really wasn't.
Guardians of the Galaxy was that
year too. Yeah, I saw that in theaters as well.
So it was like this so much good momentum coming off that summer, and then fuck that movie, man.
Yep. Yeah, I was there waiting in line to see it opening day, and it was a disappointment. That sucks.
But yeah,
yeah. Aaron Taylor Johnson was boring. The actor, he was like the Navy general, like a thinner guy with glasses, dark hair.
Mm-hmm.
He was in like one of the Bourne movies. I think it might have been either the third or maybe the one with Jeremy Renner, Bourne Legacy. But I've seen him in, he's in all kinds of stuff, He's just one of those actors that you've seen in everything. You just don't know who he is.
David Strathairn?
Yeah, I think so. I like him as an actor. He's in all kinds of stuff. The Bourne Ultimatum, the third one. He was in Lincoln. He's probably been in like probably a dozen movies that you've seen. You just never really noticed him because he's not like a mainstream handsome buff actor, young and stuff. So, but
I think he was in Dolores Claiborne. I think that's when I first recognized him. And I really liked him in that film. Oh, Lincoln. He was in Lincoln.
Yep. But he was good in the movie. Like there are actors who are doing well, and there are things like the direction was good. Like, who was it? Gareth Edwards, right? Yeah, his direction wasn't bad. Like, a lot of the scenes were like people looking up at Godzilla. The shots, like seeing his foot through the windows of the airport. Like, the direction wasn't bad. It was just the story wasn't the best. Focused too much on the Mutos, not enough on Godzilla. So much wrong with it.
Yeah, I think I'm all raged out.
Yeah.
can't give any more to this movie. Just can't.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Godzilla 2014.
Don't fucking watch that movie.
No, it's not very good. Watch pretty much any other Godzilla movie except for the 98 one.
Oh, with Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
That's another film I can complain about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a bad one. I don't know which one I like more. Probably like this one more.
I don't know which one I like less.
Yeah, I think I like this one more than 98.
Wow.
98 was bad. It wasn't Godzilla. It was just Giant Lizard.
I wouldn't say
They use a worm expert as the main character.
Was he a worm expert?
Yeah.
Was he a worm expert or?
Yeah. He was a worm expert. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. That's a lot of fish. Oh, I hate it. I hate that movie. Yeah, all right. Well, that was it for our movie review. Let's get into the board game reviews. Like I said, we played 2 board games. A couple weeks ago, we played Jamaica, which I thought was a fantastic game. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun playing it. It was a pirate racing game, and you basically everybody has a little deck of cards. Like there was 9 cards, something like that.
I can't remember something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot of cards, and each one is color coded. Each little deck with a different famous pirate. Like I was. There was Bonnie Reed and people like that.
It was Blackbeard.
Yeah, and each card has 2 actions. The picture is just there to be pretty. The cards could have been so much smaller than they were. They could have just been, those little cards that you see in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's true. But they were kind of fun size.
Yeah, I liked them. But in the top left and the top right corner, there's actions. Now there's movement action, money, food, and cannons. Those are the 4 things that you can do on this card, and each card is different. There's it's either movement, gold and cannon and food, any kind of combination.
Right.
And you have this deck. You shuffle it, so you don't know. You have a hand of 3.
Yeah.
So you shuffle it, you draw 3, and so on your turn you get to choose one of 3 to play. And the first player rolls 2 dice, and he gets to decide to put it on action 1 and action 2 space. So say you roll a 6 and a 2. The person who rolled it can choose, we'll do the 6 first and then the 2 second. So on your card, the top left is what you'll do first, and the top right you'll do second.
Right.
So if it's movement gold, you would move 6 and get 2 gold. So everyone plays their card at the same time, so you're not you're moving, I'll switch that, so you can't do that, So everyone just plays at the same time, then you do your actions. Player 1 played a card of cannon and gold. So you got 6 cannons and 2 gold. And everyone does that. And movement, there's cards. There's back movements.
Right. Which your card will either move your ship forward or backward.
Right, and you're trying
depending on the arrow.
Yeah, and when you move on the spaces, there's pictures of money or gold or whatever. So when you land on that space, you have to pay whatever it is.
Right.
And if you can't pay whatever it is, say it's 4 food, you only have 3. So you have to move back to the next space. And say that's 5 money, you only have 4. So you have to move back to the next space. You have to keep moving back until you can pay whatever it is.
Yes. Which
kind of sucks, but it's a great aspect of the game, so you're not just continually moving forward. It doesn't take 3 rolls and you finish the race. And there are certain... You can go around little islands on the corners. It's a little bit longer of a route, but you can land on a treasure chest and get a card.
Yeah, there's a lot of treasure on the longer paths.
Yeah.
But that's another strategy you can utilize.
Yes.
You can choose yourself to land on a space that you can't afford to pay the toll on, and then back into that alcove where the treasure is, which a couple of us did during that game.
Yeah, there's lots of strategy you can do with the movement back. With I only have 4 gold, and if I use my the guy rolled a 5 and a 5, and I have movement 5, I can't pay it, but I can't pay that one, can't pay that one, so I'd go back to the treasure, sweet, so you can play that card, and these cards, some of them help you, and some of them don't.
Yeah,
there are cursed treasure cards,
which are negative victory points at the end of the game.
Yeah, but then there's battles, so if you're ever at a spot with somebody else, you can choose to battle them. You roll dice, you use your cannons and stuff like that. Yeah,
you use your cannons to augment your dice roll. It'll add to whatever you hit with. And then the person you're attacking has to roll over your roll. Or,
was that it?
I think hit it or go over.
Okay. And then, the defender... The defender rolls the dice, and if it lands on the explosion, they automatically win.
Then they automatically win.
Yeah, that was cool. There's a lot of that. But somebody
that
had
happened a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like.
yeah. But somebody had a card like a reroll. Like they needed to get like a 5 or higher. They rolled it was a 2. Like he's like, but I get a reroll, and then you roll the explosion. Like
that's another thing about some of the treasures is they give you powers.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was one of them to be able to roll the die during a
battle.
Right?
Reroll. So if you don't win, you can roll it again.
Another one was automatically add 2 to a die roll during battle.
Yeah, or add 2 more cannons, stuff like that. So there was lots of cards that will help you in battle and stuff. And I'm sure some of the cards were just like added victory points at the end. Maybe, yeah, I think it was because I would have won if Mark didn't have a card that says add 10 victory points.
Right.
So
that's another thing. So you can steal someone's.
When you win the battle,
you
get to either take 1 stack from their hull or their card,
or one of their treasure cards.
Yeah, and it could be if it's not one flipped over, because if it's like add 5 to combat, you have to flip it over to show everybody like, oh, this is what I have. But if it's just a regular if the curse card or plus 10 at the end of the game or something, then it's face down. So if I win the battle and I want to steal one of your cards, it might be a curse card.
Right, it might be a curse card.
Yeah, and that happened. That happened in the game. Yeah.
I got rid of one of the curse cards with that.
Yep.
One thing we didn't explain was the hole.
Right, yeah.
So you're going to have 6 sections
I think it was 6.
on your player board, and that's where you can hold your cargo, your food, your cannons, and your money.
Yep. And you can't restack into a hull. So if you have like 1 coin, if all of your hull is full, and you have one that only has 1 chip of coin, and you get like on your turn you get 6 coins. Like from you get 6. You can't put it right on top of that 1 and make it 7.
Right.
You have to get rid of that 1 to put your 6 down, or get rid of 1 section of your hull to put more into it. You can't just keep stacking it, which is great for the game. But it's like, oh, what do I get rid of? Like I don't want to get rid of my cannon, but I don't want to get rid of my food, because a lot of the spaces, especially towards the end of the race, if you land on any space within like 7 of the end of the race, it was all like pay 3 food, 5 food, 4 food. So food was kind of a commodity at the end. In the beginning, there was a lot of like blank and money spaces, and pay 2 food. But towards the end, it was getting higher and higher in food. It's like, I don't want to get rid of my food. It's like, but like there's a lot of battles happening towards the end of the game. I don't want to get rid of my cannons, and so it was a good aspect of the game.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, because the closer you get towards the finish line, the less victory points you'll lose towards the end of the game. So the closer you get to the finish line, when someone finishes, it's not that everyone loses. It's basically who has the most money at the end of the game. Just the person who crosses the finish line will end the race.
Right.
But the closer everyone is to the finish line, or the farther you're away from the finish line, once the race ends, you'll be penalized more and more for being further and further back.
There was a certain spot that says, there was like a red line. If you're on this side of the line, you'll get X amount of victory points on these spaces, or these spaces, and these spaces. And if you're behind this line, you get negative victory points.
Right.
So you have to be. So if somebody is just like, I don't care about the curse cards or the treasure cards. Like I don't care about all stuff. Like I don't want to battle. I just want to race, to the end. They can end it real quick, and while you're off, getting this and battling that person, and like, oh, I'll move forward 5 and back 3 to get this, and and then they finish the race, and you're not across that like halfway mark. It's not halfway. It's towards the 2/3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not across it, like, oh, I spent all this time doing stuff, I didn't notice that he was finishing the race.
Yeah.
So, and Mark and I both, like, he went first, and I was like 3rd, and he crossed the finish line. Then I did immediately as well. And like I said, I would have won if he didn't have a card that said add 10 victory points. So that sucked. But yeah, I thought it was a fun game. The art was awesome.
Yeah, it's got a great theme, a nice bright piratey theme.
Yeah, very cartoony. Like your 7 cards or 9 cards, whatever, they're in your deck. If you lay them all out together, they form like a long panoramic picture.
Yes,
it's really cool. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said, like the cards could have been small, and but it looks really cool. The art's really nice. The colors are very vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And
it was fun. There was so much back and forth. There's battles, and then there's revenge for battles, and then there's
the curse cards. People stealing people's cards. Like, fuck, you gave me the curse card. And then, it was a lot of fun. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was good stuff. The first time I'd ever played that game, and I was very impressed.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was really cool. And it's not very big either. Like the box isn't like this huge cumbersome box. It's, it was very good.
The worst part about it is the rule book.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's a fold out.
Yeah.
It's not a book.
Nope.
It's a roll fold out, and it's real cumbersome. Yeah. I guess they wanted it to look like a treasure map, but it was just a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah, maybe if you played that game like a lot, like it was, and you're like a gamer, but this is like your go-to, like let's teach this to newcomers, because it really wasn't that complicated.
It's actually very simple.
You do the first action, second action, and then just kind of do it. But maybe like if you had like a room dedicated to your playing room, you could pin it up to your wall, because it looks like a treasure map is what it looks like with all the rules on it. So like it looks cool, but if you don't have it like out for everybody to see all the time, like you have to keep folding it back up, unfolding it, like what was that rule again? And
yeah, because you can't exactly set it to the side like a normal rule book. You have to fold it back up, then put it aside, and then what is this rule again? Open it back up, search for the rule. That's the only problem I really had with it. Otherwise, it's a pretty quick and fun game. It's a great in-between, I would call it.
Yeah, and definitely a beginner game. Like, usually beginner games go-tos are like Ticket to Ride. Mm-hmm. If they go from Monopoly to the board gaming world, Ticket to Ride is usually good.
Yeah, and I'd rather everyone play this than Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, I liked it more than Ticket to Ride, too.
I think a 10-year-old could easily grasp this game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could be a family game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally recommend this game. I had a ton of fun playing it. I love pirates, so maybe there's a little bit of bias towards it, but it looked great. It was really a beautiful game, so yeah. And
I love making dirty jokes about holes.
Yeah, yeah. So, everyone kept saying hull. Instead of hull, they were saying holes.
Put it in the hole.
Yeah, put that food in the hole.
I'll put that in your hole. Yeah, a lot of putting things in holes.
Yep. Yeah, I'm like, I want to take that hole from you.
I'll take my hole.
But yeah, that was the first game that we played last week that we didn't get around to talk about last week. Mm-hmm. Then this week we played. You finished most of the game. You had prior arrangements to play another game.
Yeah, I had a hard out for a Pandemic Legacy.
Yeah,
or continuation.
Is that game I saw you playing the first time I went to the shop? Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. But we also played Concordia. That's what we played this past week, and it wasn't the prettiest game. I didn't think.
No, a lot of people complain about the aesthetics.
Yeah. The map was just fine.
Right.
The map of like Central Europe, Italy is in the center because it's based in like Rome, so it's like the center of the world. Mm-hmm. So you kind of branch out around there. The map was fine, but like all the pieces that are on the board, the pieces of the cities, those weren't the greatest pieces. The actual pieces that you have to represent, like the brick and the cloth and the wine, those weren't the prettiest pieces, especially the cloth. It was just a purple square. The game itself was just fine. You have like a deck of hands. Each one has a different role. You get to choose to play whichever role. Like today, or this turn, I'm going to play the prospector or whatever it was. And that one does whatever action it is. Draw, buy new cards if you have the resources.
That's a senator card.
Senator card, yeah. So there's different roles that give you different actions, and throughout the game, like you need resources, so maybe trade the ones you have for money and then buy more, the ones that you need or that you think you need. Or there was a card that there's a track that has a piece next to every city, and if you own that city, you flip that piece, you get that resource plus whatever you produce in that section of the map.
Or whoever else has property there will also produce.
Right, so say you and me both have property in Germania, and I flip the chip to produce in Germania. I get that initial one from that track, whichever, what do you say, it's brick.
Right.
And then I produce my city. Say I have two and you have one.
Brick's the only one you'll never find up there.
Well, whatever. Wine.
There you
go. And then my city is a brick city, and a cloth city, and then your city is a wheat city.
Right.
So then all three cities produce, no matter who owns them. That region produces. So that's a good way to get your resources to go buy the cards. The cards help you, and the cards, when all the cards are gone, that ends the game.
Right.
At the beginning of the game, nobody was buying cards. We were all just kind of moving around, trying to set up cities and trying to get more resources and stuff. And then all of a sudden we started like, well, like I don't have many cards to play, like,
right.
And there's one card that says like I'll just mimic your last card.
Right.
You know,
can't remember the card.
I can't remember the cards' names either. There were a bunch of different names for the cards, but basically, like, you know, say you play the movement card last. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna play this card.
The architect.
Yeah, the architect. I'll play this card, and I can just use your last action, which was the architect. So I don't have to play my architect card. I can save it for later.
You can save that.
Yeah, so that I can basically move my guys and build a new city for free, and then later I can use my architect card to do it again. So that was that. I liked that a lot. You can, especially since the cards that you're buying off the board, some of them are the same, like another architect, another this, another that, but some of them were different.
Yeah, well, those ones, all those cards are going to be different.
Well, yeah,
those are going to be bonuses. Usually, the architect you start with will allow you movement, and then you can build
just wherever you are.
What am I thinking of?
There's the one that you can produce your people, instead of producing new colonists in Rome, you can start them off in one of your cities.
In one of your cities,
yeah. So all these cards, like a lot of them are, like I noticed, like, oh, it's just another architect that maybe you get, you know, one more thing, like one more movement.
Right.
So it's like a super architect. But then there are other cards that were completely different from the ones that you start with. Mm-hmm. They're not just like, you know, souped up versions of the ones you start with. They're like completely different.
Yeah, you get like specialist cards. I forget what they call them. But if like you have Iron Cities, this tool will let this card will let all your Iron Cities produce at once. Yeah,
things like that. So once I think we started realizing like these cards will allow us to do different things or souped up versions of the ones we're already doing, like to make those cards better. Mm-hmm. So that's when we started buying cards like left and right. Like every turn, people were buying cards, and they're on a track of like there was like 6 on the board.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and each card has what you need to pay for. Like, you know, this costs, you know, 1 cloth and 1 wine. And the first couple are just the card prices, mm-hmm. and then there are prices on the board where the card is.
Yeah, you'll have initial costs further on down the track.
Right, so like say there's 6, I buy the 4th one in line, and that's the only one I can afford. Then they slide down, and a new card is drawn for that 6th spot. Mm-hmm. So that keeps happening, so that 1 in the 6th spot doesn't just stay there the whole game.
Right.
It'll slide down and get cheaper, because the 6th one will obviously cost, you know, whatever the card price is, that doesn't matter really. But then there's a board price, and that's the priciest one, is the very last one.
Right.
Which is usually, it was like, what, 2 cloth?
2 cloth.
Yeah.
Which is a hard resource to get.
Yep.
And the cards are twofold. One, they give you bonuses during gameplay. They'll get more cards in your hand. Mm-hmm. So you have more available actions during rounds. Well, not during rounds, just before you have to waste that action pulling all your cards back up.
Right.
From the table. But each one also has a god that represents it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And this is where you get your victory points.
Mm-hmm.
So one god will represent money, we'll say. And so for every $10 you have at the end of the game, you get 1 victory point. And then you're going to multiply that by how many of those god cards you have.
Right.
So if you have 4 of those god cards, you have $40. That's 4 victory points per card.
Yeah.
For 16 points.
Yep. Yeah, that was the scoring, which at the end, like you weren't there for the end. As we were scoring, I didn't see that I had like this other city that produced something. Mm-hmm. So I should have got, it was probably only going to be like maybe 10 points at the most toward the end, but I failed miserably at that game.
Oh, yeah.
I got like, because the track, it was a high scoring track. It was like, what, 100 and something.
I'm not sure what it goes to, but it's generally a very high scoring game.
Yeah, I scored so low. I was in like the 50s.
Oh yeah,
like it was pretty low. Maybe the 50s. It might have been lower.
Yeah, and that's kind of a first game thing.
Yeah, because I didn't know what to play. I was like, which card do I play?
Right.
And we were playing with Nick, and he was saying towards the end of the game, he's like, or maybe it was even after the game. He's like, whenever I play a new game, I just play whatever. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, just play something and just to get a feel for the game. Like, don't try to strategize.
Right, and that was everyone. We had...
Yeah, I think you were the only one that had played it.
I was the only one who had played the game. So it was you, Anastasia, Nick, and...
Nick's cousin, Tony.
Nick's cousin, Tony, that's right.
Yeah.
So everyone was new to that game.
Yeah. And so that was my problem. Is I kept like trying to figure out like exactly what I need to do. It's like, oh, like I need this resource. I need to do this first, and I should have just probably for my first time just I'll play this card and do whatever.
And one thing I really try to drive home when I introduce that game to people is that the cards you buy are what's giving you your victory points at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I explained it that well this time around, but don't try to focus on what the card does. Focus on where your points are coming from.
Yeah, and I didn't focus on that at all.
At all, apparently.
At all. Like, I didn't have nearly enough of the God cards that worked for me. I had like a bunch of, I think it was stone cities. I had like 3 stone cities, but I didn't have like any God cards that represented stone.
Yeah, unfortunately, on stone, actually, stone is one of the buildings that doesn't get you any points.
Yeah.
There is a god that will give you points for each type of city you owned, being tool, fabric, wine, or whatever, excluding stone. It specifically says. So stone is important for getting the materials to build these cities you're going to get points for, but unfortunately, those stone towns don't get you any points at the end of the game.
Yeah, and I had like 3 stone towns. So,
right.
So yeah, I would like to play it again because now I think every game we play, since it's my first time playing any of these games,
pretty much, yeah.
I won't do very well, but the first like round, I will be like, I have no idea what's happening, and I'm like, oh, and then I start to understand it, and I can do it. But the next time we play, I understand the game and know what to do, So this one I think I could do better at the next time. But it wasn't visually pleasing. The board, like I said, the board itself was just fine, but all the pieces weren't visually pleasing. The cards weren't visually pleasing. I
disagree. I feel like it's a fairly standard Euro, and I like that kind of abstract Euro feel. The pieces, it kind of looks like a house. It kind of looks like a guy. It kind of looks like a blanket.
Yeah.
And, that's all those pieces are supposed to represent. And I kind of like, I've been playing Euros for years, so I don't mind it.
Right.
For someone who's looking for something a little more flashy, like a Blood Rage or something, yeah. I can see where you're coming from.
Yep.
But a Euro style is very Euro. It's very kind of dry.
Yeah, It could have been anything. Like the theme didn't matter at all. They could have taken like the whole like ancient Roman aspect out of the theme. They could have changed anything. That's how I felt about Tigris and Euphrates. Like there was no like when we were playing that, because I played that like a few times like 10 years ago, and it was just, give me a blue piece, give me a yellow piece, like it wasn't whatever resource they're actually called.
It's fairly abstract.
Yeah. But
giving games a theme like.
Well, even Jamaica, the theme didn't really matter. Like I said, the pirate theme didn't matter. It just looks cool, so it puts you into that atmosphere.
It doesn't matter, but I think themes are pretty important. If you look at a lot of say like abstract 2 players, just checkers for instance, right?
Right.
There's no theme to that game.
Nope.
And it's not very interesting.
No, it's not.
One, because it's checkers.
Yeah.
But there's other games out there that are much more complicated than checkers that look like checkers. It's just pieces, a board, and that's that. And that can be really dry for people and really uninteresting. So I think that the element of theme is fairly important.
Yeah. I
like
agree.
you say, the theme is not essential to the pirate game, but the pirate theme gives the game that extra flavor, that nice spice,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, each game, you can change the theme to whatever. Like, that could have been like a Sherlock Holmes racing game, and we would have had a great time playing a Sherlock Holmes racing game.
Right.
But the pirate theme, it put us into that mood. A lot of the people that we were playing with love pirates.
Yeah.
Nick loves pirates. Matt loves pirates. I love pirates. So it was like, it was a good time. And
I'm indifferent to pirates.
Well,
I don't like their stance on rape.
Okay, yeah, neither do I.
Yeah.
But
so I have a hard time supporting pirates.
Yeah, well, Jack Sparrow's a good pirate. He doesn't rape.
You sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about that.
He's a pirate.
Yeah, but no, he's a pirate with a heart of gold.
All right.
Well, yeah, just Concordia. Like if the pieces were just more vibrant, like same with like Tigris and Euphrates. Like the colors were so like muted, that maybe that's it. Like I like bright, colorful, vibrant colors.
I can see that. And I think once you start getting into more of the wrapping your mind around the gameplay itself, I think theme will start to be less important.
Yeah.
And just the essence of the game will be essential.
yeah. And it wasn't a bad game. Like, all the aspects of the game were fine. Like even in Puerto Rico, you pick a role to play, and that whatever that role says to do, that's your action. But instead of in Puerto Rico, like they're all laid out on the board and everyone just picks one. This one, you have a deck of cards.
Yeah, this is a really interesting mechanic that I don't think I've ever seen in any other game, where it's the card gives you your action, which a lot of games typically do, and it's also deck building.
Right, yeah, because you're buying the cards.
But having that interact with a board game is really kind of unique.
Yeah.
Because usually it's just a card game. The card tells you what another card does, and I don't think I'm explaining that right. But just the mechanic is pretty unique once you get your hands on it and look at it.
Yeah. So like the actual gameplay itself was fun. The scoring, like you said, I didn't understand until the end. I was like, oh, damn it. You know?
After that first game, it really clicks in what all those gods do and where your victory points come from.
Yeah. So yeah, I think if I were to just look at the rules or the actual scoring part of the rules, then I'm like, oh, that's what I should be going for in the game, So not just kind of willy-nilly doing things. But so I think next time if we play it again.
I hope so. I love that game.
Yeah. It should be a better time for me.
Yeah.
Than I did. Because the scoring, I think, was what did it in for me. Like I said, the colors weren't as bright as I wanted them to be to make it actually pop. But the scoring, I was like, oh, damn it. Like, I didn't know nothing I did helped me out. I just kind of wasted all my turns doing nothing, basically.
Well, you didn't waste all your turns. You were learning the game.
Well, yeah, I was learning the game, but I mean, when it came to scoring, everything I did didn't help me. So
right.
But yeah, that was our thoughts on Concordia and Jamaica. I totally recommend Jamaica.
Absolutely.
And with Concordia, if you're a true gamer, yeah, play it because it's almost like different games mashed into one. So
I totally recommend Concordia.
Yeah.
Jamaica's a great beginner, but
yeah.
If you like board games, get a copy of Concordia. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, well, we kind of skipped over board game news, I just realized.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah, so we can do that right now. What do we got going in board games?
Nothing too important. One thing I wanted to talk about was I think I had a real breakthrough this week.
Okay.
I was talking with a coworker at the pizza place. Just kind of, we both played Gears of War, the video game.
Okay.
And I started talking to him about Gears of War, the board game. Gears of War, the board game was my first board game, actually, that I ever bought.
Oh, nice. I think you've mentioned that before.
Or maybe it was my second. Was Formula D my first?
Yeah, you said Formula D
was my first. Gears of War was the second board game I ever bought. And I love that game. So I was trying to tell him about it. So I was like, have you ever played the board game, Gears of War? It's like, no. It just blew his mind. He could not put those pieces together in his head. He's like, is it like Monopoly? And this is where I reined back the horses, because anytime anyone tries to associate board games with Monopoly, I have a real knee-jerk reaction to be a board game snob about it.
Right.
And just to,
put
my nose in the air. Yeah. Monopoly. How dare you?
Right, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Games like Monopoly, Sorry, and The Game of Life, it's like, those aren't board games.
No, it's just...
You just roll the dice and do what it says.
Yeah, it's just closet garbage. You put it in your closet, you fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
But I let it slide. I took a breath. I said, no.
Nah, not
not
really.
like Monopoly. So I showed him some pictures, and he was pretty interested, so I invited him to the shop if he was ever interested. The point is, I didn't act like a snob. I didn't try to intimidate him with my knowledge of board games.
Right.
Because I feel like when I first got into board games, it was really kind of intimidating to me
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't fucking get it. Like I couldn't. But the problem was the first game I tried to play was StarCraft,
Okay.
which is a really complex board game.
Right.
So I had a real hard time, and so I just kind of stayed away for a while. I was really intimidated by it because I couldn't fucking get it. I was like, I'm just not smart enough.
Right.
And it wasn't true. Obviously, it's just it's kind of a muscle that you have to develop. Like any other thought process. And once you start accessing those muscles, it's easier and easier to wrap your mind around different systems.
Right.
But just getting in there initially can be kind of intimidating. So I took the high ground. I didn't browbeat them about fucking Monopoly. I had this whole diatribe about Monopoly that I force feed people when they mention it to me, and how it's not a fucking game. You roll the dice tells you what to do, and there's hardly any decisions to make.
Yep.
But yeah, I think I took a step in being more welcoming into the community. So
Good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try that from now on.
Yeah, I think the first game I played was... I was living up in Flagstaff. My brother had just moved up there, and he got into it. Because I was there for 2 years before he moved there. And in that 2 years, because I moved like right before I turned 16, so it was right before he turned 18. And so he had moved out on his own at 18, and somehow he got into board games.
Right.
In that 2 years that I was up in Flagstaff and he was still down here.
Yeah, knowing your brother is very random for him to be into board games.
Yeah.
If any of you know his brother, it's complete left field.
Yeah.
To his personality.
Yep. Yeah. But so he moved up there and he had all these board games and stuff, and I think he showed me it was a pirate game. A Days of Wonder pirate game. What was it called?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Pirates Cove.
Pirates Cove, yes.
Pirates Cove. That was the first game I played, I think. And we played that game so much because it was a beginner game, and we introduced like some of my friends from high school and stuff like that I hung out with, and so we played that one a lot, and Ticket to Ride, again, beginner games and stuff. So
right.
we played a lot of like those types of games, but the pirate game, and because the girlfriend that he had at the time loved pirates and stuff, so we always played the pirate game. But yeah, so I think that was the first game I ever played, and which is interesting because the board game shop that they had up there was run by the guy who runs the board game shop down here, Chris.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, so that's I kind of know him already. I mean, I don't really remember him. I think he thinks that he remembers my brother because he was like, I was like, oh, my brother used to go in there all the time.
He's a hard guy to forget.
Yeah, and he's like, who's your brother? I was like, his name is Joey. I was like, he was real tall, glasses, had a short girlfriend. He's like, I think I remember him. He's like, did he play Wallenstein? I was like, yeah, he loved Wallenstein.
Oh, yeah, he did love Wallenstein, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Chris remembers my brother. My brother definitely remembers him. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember him from that shop. And I think I started to learn the Game of Thrones card game with Chris's wife at that shop.
Oh, okay.
But I played a lot of games at that shop. Played Formula D there.
Nice.
Played Acquire. There was a few other ones that I can't remember it right now. I remember the last time we were at the shop, or when we were playing Jamaica, I remember like, I played a few more games at the one in Flagstaff. But yeah, it's kind of weird, all these connections and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first game I ever played was Pirates Cove.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, your brother... I don't know if he got my brother into board games, who in turn got me into board games. I think he
did, because when I met Matt, because I met Matt 10 years before I met you.
Right.
And he wasn't into board games. So I think my brother did get Matt into them.
Yeah, I think so. And in a way, your brother helped get me into board games also, because we started doing a
weekly
lot more
night
games with him and Matt.
Yeah, I remember like maybe 5 years ago, my brother was like, oh yeah, I go to Matt's like every week to play games with him and his brother.
Yeah, we did quite a bit of gaming, so yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, full circle, man.
Yep, yeah, it's crazy, right? Yep.
Now we're hanging out, playing board games.
Yep.
Yeah. So, just quick shitty news. I didn't have anything really. Just two things I was interested in. One was that they're doing Kingsport Festival, the card game.
Oh, cool.
So, Kingsport Festival is this great, dice... It's like worker placement, dice placement game. And it's based off of Kingsburg. So it's like Kingsburg. I don't know if you've ever seen
played
that.
Kingsburg.
Okay, so you played Kingsburg. It's Kingsburg with a Cthulhu theme.
Oh, okay. You said you've played that one.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to you that I played Kingsburg. You're
right.
like, oh, I played that, but Cthulhu.
So it's a great dice game. You're feeding the gods. You're giving them sacrifices. Your dice do this. Well, they're turning it into a card game, and I really like. Lately, I'm liking card game versions of other board games.
Okay.
Because they'll usually take the game and
break it down to
kind of its essence and make it shorter, so you can kind of get like a bite-sized version of the game that you
like San Juan to Puerto Rico.
Exactly, like San Juan to Puerto Rico. So I really liked Kingsport Festival, and they're making a card game out of it. It should be out next month.
Oh, nice, cool. That should be one maybe we should play at the shop.
Yeah, hopefully they'll get a copy. Another one that was kind of... There's not a lot of information about it. It's called Kanagawa, but it's by Bruno Cthulhu. Not Bruno Cthulhu. How do you pronounce his name? It's almost Bruno Cthulhu. It's Bruno Cathala.
Oh, okay.
And I love this guy. He did Seven Wonders, Duel. He did Five Tribes. He's done Cyclades, a million other games. He's just very prolific and an excellent board game designer. They're going to debut at Spiel 2016. I'm not sure what month that is. In October. So we should be seeing what that's about. And it looks interesting. It's got a Japanese theme to it.
Nice.
It might be about doing watercolors because there's a paintbrush on the cover of the game.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like very paintbrushy.
Yeah, it does.
Watercolor art.
Yep.
But I don't know. I just like pretty much all the stuff this guy does. And I'm sorry I don't have more information, but when it comes out, I'll let everyone know.
All right, cool.
And that's all I was really excited about this week.
All right, well, very cool. That sounds like I like the whole making the board game into a card game aspect.
Yeah, I actually have Euphrates and Tigris, which is a card game of
Tigris and Euphrates. Oh, yes. Cool. That's awesome. Well, that was our podcast. Thanks for joining and listening. We talked about a little bit of movie news. Tom Hiddleston, maybe James Bond. Rila Fukushima is going to join the cast of Ghost in the Shell. And some other news. We talked about Godzilla 2014 and a little bit about Goosebumps, kind of teasing that we will do that in the future because it really wasn't that bad. And
I'll try to watch it this week.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of like movies like Jumanji or Casper from the 90s.
Oh, okay.
But when we talked about all the different Godzilla things that we liked, how it was a huge disappointment.
Oh, we talked about the stuff we hated.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah, we talked about Godzilla a lot. We talked about some board games that we played. We played Jamaica. We played Concordia. I liked Jamaica much more than Concordia. But they were both good games. I had a lot of good aspects to both of them. And then we talked about a little bit of board game news and turning board games into card games and things. So it was a good episode. Yeah, we kind of talked about just how we
got a little personal chat in there.
Yeah, we know each other and board games and stuff like that. Yeah, it was really nice. I like that.
Bringing people together.
Yes, board games. That's what they do. That was this week. Next week, I don't know what games we're going to be talking about because we'll play whatever we play at the shop.
Just wing it.
Next week we'll be talking about X-Men Apocalypse because it came out this past week. We record on Saturdays. I always see movies on Tuesdays because they're half price. So I'll never see anything opening day anymore because switching jobs I lost a lot of money and things. So I got to save everywhere I can.
Yeah.
So I'll see you Tuesday, and when we reconvene next Saturday, we'll talk about it, whatever movie and board game news there happens to be that week. And you can always find us on YouTube at youtube.com/moviemastermike, on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/geequilibrium, on Facebook at facebook.com/geequilibrium, and facebook.com/geequilibrium1. We'll be posting this to all those sites just to get it out there, and the Facebook side for written reviews and pictures and things, and just kind of things that we do throughout the week, outside of this podcast. Like I played Rune Age with my girlfriend and stuff.
Nice.
So there's kind of things that we can post. So it's not just this podcast, just other things that we do. You can find us on all those other avenues. And so until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. We are your host, Movie Master Mike.
Tabletop Tim.
Reminding you to speak your geek
and balance your geek
with Geequilibrium.